two more questions. We have one right here, and then you'll be the last question.
So I guess my question is that we a lot of focus on economics here, and I feel that real forward-thinking people like Al Gore, thinking that maybe we really need to change the world's economic model entirely because of our environmental problems and this push for sustainability and a more sustainable society. I'm just wondering what kind of research you guys have done looking at immigration and the impact on a sustainable, more environmentally friendly world. And I'm not just thinking about the United States here, but anywhere in the world where immigration has negative or positive impact on that state.
I haven't done any research. I could refer you to others who have. There's a professor at UC Davis, Jim Kramer, who's looked at population and immigration issues. Certainly one of the larger anti-immigrant groups in the United States, Federation for American Immigration Reform, have had environmentalists as part of its coalition. The Sierra Club has had a really contentious debate about whether it would take a position on population growth and a position opposed to further immigration. In the end, the members of the Sierra Club voted not to take a position. So there are people who have done work on it. I personally have not.
And I would just add, actually, since I do actually spend a lot of time involved in the policy arena, the recent push by the United States for cleaner fuel, primarily corn-based ethanol, is creating havoc in Mexico and many parts around the world because it's pushed. They've had riots in Mexico because the price of corn tortillas has gone through the roof, and there's a very real concern that there we have a policy designed to make it a little cleaner, and it's creating terrific hardship, economic and otherwise, in very poor communities around the world. And so but that's classic public policy. You make a decision in one area, and you have these unintended spillover effects in others. One last question here in the back.
Okay, this question is directed at Dr. Hing, and the case you mentioned about the so-called human rights workers who helped the immigrants who were coming here illegally. I have to say about that, why would you want to have laws if you're not going to enforce them? I mean, here you have individuals coming across the border illegally, en masse.
Let them die.
That could be reasonable.
All right, come on, hang on. Look, this has been a great forum. It's been a great discussion. Let's go let it. This is the last question. He has the right to ask the question, please.
To that, I just have to say, I mean, here you have a huge problem, and to have people come and aggravate the problem by giving assistance to what are criminals, that's what they are. They're criminals. They're breaking the law. To assist them, you're breaking a law. You're aiding and abetting a criminal. What do you have to say about that? This is a nation of laws. It's not a nation of anarchy, so how can you support that? And I have another point. You have this thread in your argument that it's like the government is somehow like totally anti-immigrant, and like the Clinton administration that had the was it Operation Gatekeeper? No. The name of it? Okay. That's not been my experience based on my research. I have found numerous cases of INS agents being prosecuted for the smallest infractions.
We have your first question. Do you have a second question?
The second question is basically, I'll move on, I'll get directly to that. Do you think there is a thread in the government? Do you think there are forces, influence groups that want to prevent like the INS from doing its job properly? Do you think they have their hands tied behind their back, like, in general?
No, I don't think so. The prosecutions that I'm aware of where Border Patrol guards are prosecuted, is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, when they're prosecuted, the facts are that they've murdered people, that they've beaten up people, just the way you can prosecute a police officer for abuse. Those are the ones I'm aware of, not for small little things. Those are the prosecutions I'm aware of. Is there some
The
prosecution.
cases I'm thinking of are instances where they have done things that, in my opinion, were reasonable.
What was the example?
I don't know the exact details, so, I mean, I wish I had brought them.
Yeah, well,
I should have, but
well, you know, I wasn't.
there was the recent case, you've probably heard of it, of the 2 INS agents who were, I think they're in prison now for, I think they shot at an armed assailant,
Right.
and this was in Arizona, I believe.
Right.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
That could very well be, I'm not sure, but you can still be accused of abuse, of police abuse. I'm talking about all kinds of law enforcement people if you are not following your standard operations procedures.
Of course, I'm just saying I think there's a disproportionate
Yeah.
amount of restriction on INS agents. I think they...
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you and I guess apparently disagree with that, because I'd like to, match the facts with what you're calling improper prosecution, I guess. And so,
Okay.
yeah, the ones that I've seen, and I monitor that, because I was on Janet Reno's Citizen Advisory Panel that monitored Border Patrol abuse, and worked with the Office of Inspector General and the Department of Justice, and it was hard to get them to even prosecute somebody. And it was only the most egregious situations. But
That's
on your
interesting. Back to the first question.
yeah, on your first point, that's what I was into. I think I said that people that cross the border illegally are violating the law.
You did
right?
say that, but...
Yeah, and so there's a long history of laws in the United States where individuals have engaged in civil disobedience to oppose those laws, and I put this in that category. And
I think that is
ultimately those
totally...
laws-
Okay, hang on just a
I'm
second.
trying to answer your question.
Yeah, the deal here is we've asked you to participate, to ask the question, not to engage in a running conversation. Please let Mr. Haynes answer the question, and that's it. It's not a running conversation. Please respect the rules. Thank you.
So that, I classify these laws when we've set up a structure in a way to enforce the law in a way that we know people are dying. I classify that enforcement mechanism as something that reasonable people might believe is a violation of human rights and therefore have a right to engage in civil disobedience to violate those laws. That's one response. The other response is that in any area of law, in any area of criminal law, prosecutors have vast discretion. There's this concept called prosecutorial discretion that is exercised every day in every courtroom, in every hall of justice, in every DA office, in every U.S. attorney office across the country. When decisions are made, on the face of it, this person has violated the law, but we're not going to prosecute. We're going to do something else. We're either going to divert them, or we're going to turn our head this time, or we're going to prosecute this time. And I believe that, based on my perception, and obviously you disagree with me because I don't think it was a flippant answer a little while ago when you said that you would let them die. I believe that a reasonable prosecutor could have decided to not prosecute those people when he or she knew that the reason they were acting was out of compassion and mercy, not to help somebody come across the border, but rather to help them live and then get deported, because that's what they did. That's what they always did. When they had previously saved lives, they saved the lives, and after they got out of the hospital, they got deported, okay? But the individuals who had come across illegally. But this time, and in fact, those people did get deported, that they saved the lives of, but for some reason, the U.S. Attorney in Tucson went after the 2 college students to prosecute them. And I'm just saying that, in my opinion, the prosecutor could have exercised prosecutorial discretion not to prosecute. Just like every day, there are people that violate laws and prosecutors decide for different reasons not to prosecute because they believe that there's a good moral reason not to do that.
Well, I disagree with that.
Thank you very much.